Anderson, we talked about it. All of these walks and the very strong possibility because of all of these walks of him not making the team. Well, he wasn't going to make the team, and that's why they traded him to the Angels.
Yeah, I don't want to call it a lifeline because there are other guys. There's Sean Newcomb over there. There's obviously Max Fried for $210 million. The Braves have now got starting pitchers that are sort of all over the place. Mike Soroka, we don't know really what his role is going to be, but he's still in the bigs. Ian Anderson is going to get a second life. The good news for him is Walt Weiss and everybody over there, Ron Washington and everybody over there, including the general manager, knows something about him. So I don't know if they're going to do what I thought the Cubs should have done with Newcomb. Send him down, get him right, or have somebody work with him. You got him because you think there's something there. He's of the age that something might be there. But he's got to figure out the idea of, I'm not going to be around. Nobody else is going to give me a chance if I do what I just did this spring.
In his final appearance, he had 2 more walks, giving him 20 walks and 10 strikeouts. And I don't care in spring training if you have a 2.25 ERA. If you do that at the major league level, you will not be effective.
Well, I know what you can't be. You can't be a guy coming out of the bullpen. I'll let you figure stuff out as a starter, especially as a young guy. He's not young anymore, but he's missed a lot of time. I think the Angels are a really good fit for him in that regard, that if he can figure it out, there's a lot less pressure and a whole lot of things that he doesn't have to deal with here. There was a guy named Jason Schmidt here a number of years ago.
Sweet Pea.
Because he looked like the Sweet Pea character from the Popeye comics. If you know, you know. If you don't, just look it up. I won't even bother to tell the story. We're in West Palm Beach at the end of spring training, and he's going to go make a start. And I happen to be in there because there were really no rules then. Like, you were just there till you...
People could just meander back then.
It was sort of, again, I joked.
You just go wherever you wanted to go.
You stepped over a chain link fence and you were in the building. And I don't even know, I'm sure I had a credential, but I don't think anybody was looking. This is the God's honest truth in my kid's 4 eyes. Jason Schmidt tells me, man, I'm really nervous. I said, what's that? I'm really nervous. This could be if I make the team. I said, you're telling me this? You're telling me this. You're saying this out loud. He was not built to have those guys in front of him because he thought keeping up was what he needed to do. When you're the 5th starter, you don't need to keep up with guys who've won Cy Young Awards. You just need to be a good 5th starter.
And now
I think Ian Anderson might actually be dealing with a little bit of that.
And as a result, the Jose Suarez era, Dimino, has now begun. That's who they got in return for Ian Anderson, left-handed reliever who's going to be on the roster.
What do they list him at?
Well, I don't know what they list him at weight-wise.
I'm going to go higher.
But I know that he did not have a good spring training, and he has struggled. So they hope for both of these guys that a change of scenery will be in place. So it looks like Sale, Lopez, Schwellenbach, Grant Holmes, A.J. Smith-Shawver will be the starters in that order.
And I would like Grant Holmes to go to the bullpen. If they're not going to use 6, let him go to the bullpen, keep Smith-Shawver around, have him be a 5th starter, let Holmes go to the bullpen. Here comes Spencer Strider.
When Spencer Strider comes back, and more on him in just a second. Iglesias, Johnson, Bummer, Lee, Hernandez, Hector Neris, De Los Santos, Suarez will make up the bullpen as of right now because Bryce Elder, Jesse Chavez, that's right, Jesse Chavez is back. Craig Kimbrell and James McCann all got sent down to the minor league camp. But I got a feeling we're going to see Jesse Chavez and Craig Kimbrell, maybe all of these guys, when all is said and done.
It might be the oldest AAA team in the history of AAA baseball. There are a lot of guys who've got a lot of mileage. I just want to do this now. Jesse Chavez was on the 21 roster. He's not on the Braves roster right now. Do you know who's left from the 2021 World Series roster?
Not a lot of people.
No. Ozzie, Austin, Orlando Arcia made it as a backup infielder, but it wasn't his job. It was Dansby. There is not an outfielder left. There's not a catcher left. And that's it. Jesse Chavez will be the only pitcher when he comes up to have been on the staff for the 2021 World Series.
Because don't forget, Ronald Acuna Jr. blew out his knee the first time he wasn't there. Jesse Chavez goes a couple of innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, a couple of walks. So I don't know how many times you can catch lightning in a bottle with Jesse Chavez, but signing him to a minor league deal, I guess the thinking is he can be, if it works out, what he was before, this long reliever who has to mop up in certain situations.
But that could be Grant Holmes, too.
It could
Remember
be.
that. That could be Grant Holmes. I'm not into sentimentality. I'm just going to say it again. And somebody asked me yesterday. I saw somebody last night after I did the pregame show with Barrett Salee. And they said, I said, I'm just not into sentimentality. Craig Kimbrell, Jesse Chavez, James McCann, who's been around baseball for a while. Let's go get this guy. I know why they're doing it. I think Verdugo, by the way, might be the one that's really a real deal.
They say Chris Sale played with him in Boston, and it was kind of a throwaway comment. When I say they, I mean Chris Sale specifically. What he said, Verdugo's a great clubhouse guy. So I don't know what that means as far as him making the team, but it seems like he's one of those guys that the other players are going to like having around. And I think he can play a little bit. He can't be, I don't want to say any worse. Maybe that's not the right way to put it. He's got to be on par, let's put it that way, with Jared Kelenic, I would believe.
With probably an upside, because I think Jared Kelenick's beat up. I think mentally he's beat up. I think the idea that he was a top 10 prospect in baseball and it hasn't panned out. Look, you're good enough to get a contract. The Braves are paying you fairly decent money, but that doesn't mean you're really ready to play.
Yeah, think about it, Chris. He's a first-round pick. For those that don't know, I know you know. First-round pick of the Mets, doesn't work there, doesn't work in Seattle. And when he had the chance to play every day last year, you're right, it seemed like at the end of the year, either he was worn down physically or worn down mentally or both. And that's why Verdugo is here. I don't think they trust Jared Kelenic.
Yeah, no, again, this is the Sean Murphy watch. This is the Kelenic watch. This is the Arcia watch. They're all on, I don't know, again, I don't want to call it double secret probation, but these guys know there is a shelf life for all of them. And I know how much money Murphy makes. You know what a shelf life is for a catcher? You don't start 115. You start less. You're healthy, you're good enough to go, and you start less games, not as many as you would when you're the number one.
Speaking of which, they have started to ease Sean Murphy into light baseball activities, and they say 3 weeks into the season he could be back.
Could be.
Playing catcher. Could be.
We'll see.
Not will be.
And again.
Could be. But at least he has started to do something now after breaking that rib when he was hit by a pitch.
Right. He offered, I think, 2 sentences when somebody asked how he's doing or how it's going. I'm good. Are we done? Okay.
He doesn't say much. In a 5-5 tie with the Orioles yesterday, Spencer Strider gets the start, strikes out 3 of 4 batters, and then works around a single, gets squeezed on a leadoff walk, and a 2-out homer, 2-run shot with 1 out, I should say, he allows in the second inning, and then he comes out of the game. Spencer Strider also talked about the young catcher who's going to make the team in Drake Baldwin.
I mean, phenomenal catcher. I mean, love throwing to him. Just really good personality as well. Just thinking off the field, like friends with everybody, very, very communicative, very social. Yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal player. Obviously, good swing, but just has the presence of a guy that has experience. When you're throwing to him, it just feels very confident and comforting.
Would it have been wrong if you said, "Now tell me about Sean Murphy"? Because after that, I think anything you might have said about Sean Murphy would have had to include the word veteran 3 or 4 times.
But I think these guys are smart. They know this young kid's going to be their catcher, so you have to say everything to have him be comfortable. If he isn't already, which he seems to be, Drake Baldwin, but to make him more comfortable in his own skin.
Let me make an analogy for Braves fans. John Smoltz threw a game to Brian McCann. Brian McCann's first game in the Bigs. And John Smoltz said the things in spring training that we're hearing about Drake Baldwin. Then that day he said, man, that was a day of pitch and catch. I'm not telling you that this guy's going to be Brian McCann, but if you really want to have the hopes, can I get 8 to 10 years out of a guy, and can he be Brian McCann-like? Yeah, that would be great. And the idea that guys are saying that stuff early was very similar to what they said about McCann. We know he's a prospect. We know that he can play. Now let's see if we can actually get him ready to play to do the other stuff, which is run a meeting. Make sure that you know when to go to the mound. Baldwin's in a little bit of a different situation because mound visits, we'll see between innings. Some pitchers want to be talked to, some don't. We'll see how he handles all that other stuff.
So the order for San Diego could look something like this. Profar leading off, Austin Riley hitting second, and it depends who's pitching. Sometimes with a lefty, they'll move things around, but Michael King, a righty, is starting on Thursday. Matt Olson hits third, perhaps. Marcell Ozuna, fourth. Michael Harris, fifth. Ozzie Albies, sixth. Kelenic, seventh. Drake Baldwin, eighth. Orlando Arcia, ninth. It could look something like that on Thursday when they open with the Padres here on the Fan.
What will it look like May 15th?
That I don't know.
Because that really becomes the question. Is Arcia not even, is the Nick Allen thing not even a thing? And is Sean Murphy back playing 4 out of every 5 days, which is what's supposed to happen when you sign a guy like that? That's a May 15th idea.
And they're in Arizona for a couple of days, taking on the Cubs tonight. You can listen to the game here on the Fan. Our spring training coverage presented by Tidal Wave Auto Spa, Howard Brothers, and Subaru of Gwinnett. And Brian Snicker said it, and he was a man of his word because he has seen it many times over. 3 players that nobody had any idea would be on this Major League roster, at least right now, maybe even 4 if you want to count the Ian Anderson trade, with Neris, Aniel De Los Santos, Drake Baldwin, and Suarez. So those 4 players, nobody knew anything about them for the most part because 3 of them weren't in the organization and the other one was supposed to play down at AAA, all going to be on this roster on opening day on Thursday.
I'd like to see maybe the 95 World Series team 3 years later what the turnover was, how many guys were still left. Because they did churn and burn a lot. Remember, it was here comes Gary Sheffield, here comes Vinny Castilla, here comes Andres Galarraga. There were a lot of here comes Bobby Bonilla. There were a lot of things that happened. This isn't star-driven. Those 4 guys, there's not a star in there. This is not you got a star. This is not a free agent. Look, we just picked up Gary Sheffield. We just picked up Vinny Castilla. This is none of that. But there's turnover in baseball, and you got a shot to make the 26. If you got an arm that can go to the bullpen, and we think that I can go to you 3 times a week, there's a chance you can stay.
And you're going to churn and burn. You got Bryce Elder down at AAA. I don't know if people want to see him, but I got a feeling they will see him. Kimbrel and now Jesse Chavez all down there, and you better believe those guys are all going to get a shot, among others, in the bullpen, in the rotation when all is said and done. Chris Sale, 4 scoreless innings in his final spring start on Friday. And today at 4:05, they'll take on the Cubs, and Spencer Schwellenbach most likely going to get the start today, and then it's going to be a bunch of minor leaguers pitching tomorrow because everybody has to get ready for San Diego on Thursday.
Hey, you know what was nice? Some of those guys got a free trip to Arizona. I'm sure that hotel is nice. I'm sure they probably have a spa, probably got a nice bar. You get done with one today, you get to play one more tomorrow before they ship your ass back to Gwinnett, or wherever else it is you're going to go.
And the beauty is you're on the Gwinnett shuttle. So if you want to, rent a nice condo, you could play here. The condo stays. You don't have to move with the condo. That's the great thing about it. I mean, you'd rather stay at the major league level. I'm just telling you, worst case scenario. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would rather have a Braves uniform than a Stripers uniform. All things considered, it's nice to be a professional baseball player, but there is that next level, as they say.